Okay, boys, that was a win. It was 5-3. It was exciting. Barcelona looks like the team I wanted them to be all season, kind of. Lots to talk about. Obviously, with 8 goals, there's always going to be. I think the main focus is going to have to be on before all the changes were made, because Barcelona very clearly just kind of looked out of it. And when you take all the starters off, you play Eric Garcia at left back, you bring on a kid who hasn't played, and he's still, barely played any football in Torrance at left back, and then he just keeps getting abused and abused. Things happen, but realistically, great performance from the main team overall. Questions can be asked to the team, and not piling on, not continuing, not controlling the game after that. They didn't do a great job of that. They didn't do a great job of playing rondo, I guess you could say, and just kind of relaxing into the game and managing it throughout the 90 minutes, ending up conceding a penalty by a terrible tackle from Kunde. Like terrible, like stupid, not terrible, like it probably hurt the guy, and just conceding a corner, right? But main focus, if we're focusing on that first half, it was a really, really solid performance, back to front football, like you can see in the Premier League every week. It was exciting. It was fun. Barcelona conceded a little bit of space, but defended pretty well for the most part. Got unlucky that they, put something together, scored their first opportunity, and that was really one of their only opportunities the entire first half, maybe another one that didn't come together for them. I think it was a really solid job overall by the back line, not playing too high up the pitch that they get caught in behind very easily, and also maintaining enough control of the ball that they didn't just continuously get exposed to the back like we've seen them do over and over again this season. Like I know, we've all heard everybody complain about, very fairly so for most of it as well. Today it looked good. Today it looked healthy. Everyone was running and maintaining the ball and then pushing up very intelligently and happily. Ferran Torres, obviously with the hat trick, looked very solid, looked clinical, looked confident. Rooney Barthez, who hasn't played football in a month because he just hasn't been picked, looked as sharp as you could have expected, scoring a fantastic goal on his weak foot, getting an assist with his weak foot as well over to Ferran Torres, and playing really good football. A really, really good overall performance from those two. Lamine played a little bit of a different position as well, did not really Rashford, but I was a little worried today because it was a different lineup. And I think part of the flaws in this team was that they could not, looked really confident in possession, especially when they're trying to, play out of a press. They kind of needed to throw the ball to Pedri, and he did his magic around and kept the ball, so much so that the fans in Andalusia were cheering his name despite it being an away match for Barcelona. Everyone was cheering Pedri when he was leaving the pitch, and rightly so. He's fantastic, and he was very good today in maintaining a little bit of that understanding and that rhythm amongst a side that doesn't play that much together. Like they were saying how Hansi Flick played 15 or 16 different combinations in the midfield, and this was a little bit different, right? With Pedri and Eric Garcia and then Lamine Yamal in front of them in sort of that number 10 position, somewhere he hasn't played a ton of. It was different, but it looked okay. I think it could have looked better, but going forward and just being decisive, the team looked great. The team looked really good. They had support from Kunde as well. Balde didn't do as much going forward, probably because he had Anthony against him for a little while. Then he came off. I don't know if he's injured. I didn't hear anything about it, didn't see anything about it on Twitter. I hope he's fine. I'm sure he is, since I did not see anything. I think I would have if there were an issue. Now, the front four, though, that it was really, really exciting. And it wasn't like, I don't know, they obviously Betis were playing kind of open. They weren't sitting back and everything. So they were leaving space in behind, but Barcelona just kind of went at them, right? They didn't spend time passing it around the box, trying to figure out what to do. They kind of just put a decisive pass in there, and someone took a shot. Someone took a confident shot. Someone picked out a pass, and I think Betis played poorly, but they were in 5th place coming into this match, 5th or 6th in La Liga. They've been a solid team so far this year. Barcelona made them look like a bottom table team, the way they played through them very easily. And I'm happy about that, right? Barthez scored one of the best goals I've seen all season, honestly, especially from a winger. He looked like a striker there, in his confidence to take a shot on his weak foot and rip it into the side netting, or at least the corner of the goal, the near post. It looked dirty. It looked really good. And then Ferran Torres obviously gets a little deflection help, but scored some strikers' goals today in a way we haven't seen him do this season. I'm constantly confused at what the hell this guy is, or how confident I should be in what he can do. And I think Hansi Flick's probably the same way. I'm not sure if he should be a starter. I love him as a super sub. Today he looked great as a starter, though. I don't know. He looked good today, though, and I think he was part of the whole team kind of falling out of love with this game, I guess you could say, as the second half unfolded. I think it was 4-1 by the time the second half started, and then ended up getting another penalty that Lamine Yamal ended up scoring. But it was an overall really weird performance, but really good one. And Lamine Yamal looked okay. I don't think it was his best game. I think he looked good in possession. I think he won the ball back in a couple of weird spots, which you're going to have to do when you're playing deeper at like that number 10 spot. I think I would have liked to see a little bit, maybe more from him going forward, a little bit more confidence, a little better understanding, but that will come with playing that position more and being around teammates that are used to you playing in that position, right? His link up with Partey looked pretty good most of the time, but sometimes, that can get a little bit better once they play a little bit more together. Same with Balde and Rashford on the left side. And Ferran Torres as well. I think we can get even healthier, and seeing that we can rotate that. We don't have to play Rafinha every game. We don't have to play Lamine Yamal on the right wing every game. Maybe this is a door open to benching Lamine and letting Fermin or Dani Olmo play once they're both healthy. Fermin did come back eventually in this match. I think that's really promising, and that's really, really good going forward. I got to mention it, made a whole video about Gerard Martin yesterday that I'll link at the end of this one so you guys can get a little bit more in depth just about kind of his rise as a player. It's pretty surprising to me how well he looked today as well. Made a couple of interceptions, did pretty well defensively whenever he was one-on-one with a man. And yes, I really actually, he wasn't in that first goal at all. Koundé was holding the man on, and maybe you could ask a little bit more from Kubarsi to make the block on the shot, but realistically, I think that's pretty harsh. I think Koundé didn't have his best game today, but we'll get into the ratings right now, starting with Joan Garcia. I think he had a really solid game, made a couple really good clearances of the ball and like came out of his net really well. I think that was his best attribute. I don't really remember any specific saves, honestly, and maybe you could, I don't know. I think the corner is unfortunate because it's always weird to defend. Maybe he could have commanded his box a little bit better there. I think maybe you could argue that because it was a pretty... maybe he could have come out for that, basically. And then the first goal, he gets beaten near post with a really good finish, hard finish by Anthony, and it is well done. And then the third goal, again, maybe you could ask a little bit more from him as well. But overall, fine. He did concede 3, though. Can't give him that great of a rating. I'll give him about a 5.5 or 6, just because when your keeper concedes 3 and doesn't really make any spectacular saves that I remember, I'm sure I'm missing something, you can criticize that. That's fine. The back 4, I think everyone had a really solid game. Specifically, Martin, I think he was really solid. And only conceding 1 in the first half. 1, he was in there. Then he got shifted to left back. He immediately got a yellow card once the second half started, and I think he looked worse. I think he did definitely look worse at left back than he did at center back, which is kind of weird considering he's been playing so much more as a left back. But it's good to see, and it's good to see him developing there. I think he easily deserves like a 7.5, potentially even better, like an 8. Kubarsi, pretty good. A couple of good tackles in there, I think. Looks more comfortable next to Gerard Martin, especially with their ball handling abilities, with a left footer at the left center back spot and the right footer at the right center back spot, not having to split that up. In possession, we look a lot better. Kubarsi looked pretty good. Again, conceding 3, probably about a 7. I think he did look good enough for a while, and then the whole team kind of died down, but looked decent enough at best. Koundé, fine, I guess. You saw him linking up a little bit going forward, putting a couple good crosses in there, might have even gotten an assist. I think he did get an assist for one of Ferran Torres' goal, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm still going to be critical of the fact that he put that tackle in at the end. I think he got a yellow card as well. That's a stupid yellow card. Now he's going to be out for 1 game earlier than maybe he could have if he had a yellow card in the next game, which means that could be a big match. It could also not be. But it was unnecessary. Didn't need to make that tackle. Could have kept the scoreline a little bit lower, taken less pressure off his teammates, but... not the end of the world, not his best performance either. 5. I think making it's a stupid tackle. And I think against a better team, that mistake, along with, missing the chances like Rashford missed at the end of the game, that compiles and could potentially lose points. And thankfully today, Barcelona were really clinical and that wasn't as much of an issue, but I could see it being an issue in the future. Balde, similar story. I think he was decent. I think he did look solid for those 45 minutes. Didn't do a ton going forward, but did a decent enough job against Anthony. And I'm not disappointed in any way. 6.5, 7. And now we can move to the more exciting part to me. I think Pedri controlled everything. He made a couple good interceptions, interventions, and tackles, but possessionally, he looked healthy in a team that was, especially when they were getting pressed around the box, I was a little bit nervous, probably more so than anyone else on the pitch, but I was nervous that they were going to, throw it away, but they could give it to Pedri and he could figure it out. For that alone, whatever you want to give him, 8.5, 9. Really, really solid performance as well, with the whole stadium cheering his name. You love to see that. He deserves the credit. Wearing the captain's armband, super cool to see, and I'm happy for him at the very least. Eric Garcia, I would say it wasn't his best game. I don't think it was most his elite game. Sometimes he was going forward, especially early in the match, where he found himself in dangerous positions and decided to kind of rotate the ball around instead of actually making a decisive pass. Not surprised considering he's a center back, converted to a midfielder, now going forward. But I don't know. You want something more from him there. And I understand it, but we'll see how that develops and everything. Not a terrible performance by any means, and he ended up playing left back as well. So give him some credit. Ended up getting a little bit of a rest too at the end of the game, I believe, as well. So solid performance overall, not spectacular, maybe a 7, 7.5, not too disappointing in any way. Lamine Yamal at the number 10 was a little disappointing to me. Ended up scoring the pen. It was a very healthy finish, but there were a couple other times he probably could have like 2 or 3 goals today, not including the penalty. Like, he had opportunities, missed his chances, maybe chose to dribble a few more times than you'd expect. I don't know. Wasn't spectacular, but once he plays that position more, then we'll have more sample size to really go off of and really judge his quality as a number 10, especially with Firmino and Dani Olmo constantly being injured. Something you're going to have to do. We're going to have to do together. Solid performance, though. Ended up with a goal, potentially an assist as well. I don't really remember. I think it's just a goal. Solid 7, I think, is pretty fair, considering that penalty probably shouldn't have been given as well. If we're going to be honest, I thought when it comes off the body and then hits the arm, it's not a pen, but whatever. It is what it is. Didn't end up being the difference in the game. It is what it is. And then we can move on to the front three. Rooney, Barthez, fantastic game. Really, really good. I'm going to give him a 9.5. Probably not my man of the match because Ferran Torres scored a pretty solid hat trick, but really, really good game from Barthez. Looked confident, linked up well, pressed really well, looked dangerous, and I'm so happy for him because he hasn't played at all. It's so nice to see him actually get something out of this and to not look rusty, not look like he's been out for a month, like he hasn't played for a month. He looks like he was ready to play, and that's promising for us when that makes me feel like we can throw him into a match, into a situation where he hasn't had that much time to warm up or he hasn't had that much time to prepare, and he can be on his game. He's still a young kid, still 19, 20 years old, so he still has time, but looked really solid and a great backup option as we get deeper into the season. I'm really happy. I can't wait to see him play more. We have the Copa del Rey matches coming up in a couple of weeks as well that he will almost certainly get some game time for, which is something to keep in mind. Now, Ferran Torres, my man of the match, three goals, really solid overall for most of the game. The whole team kind of looked weaker. You probably could have asked a little bit more from him at the end, but solid, right? 9.5, 10 probably. Got a little lucky with the deflection, but fought his way into positions, won the ball, and scored his goals, like you want to see a striker do. I have no idea where I stand with him, if I want him to be a starter over Lewandowski or if I want him to only be a super sub, or if I want them to share the time. I have no idea. I don't think anybody does. And it's interesting to see. I don't know where this develops. Let me know what you guys think. I don't know. Rashford looked good, got into a lot of really good positions. I can't believe he didn't score. It's frustrating, especially that chance right at the end of the game where he's one-on-one with the keeper. God, bro, be more decisive than that. Like I get it. We're up, whatever, at that point, 5-2. I think it was 5-2 at that point. But you got to be better than that. Had a couple of other opportunities too. I'm going to be kind of critical on him. Because I want more from him. I know he can do better. 6.5, considering I know he could do better than he actually did. But he did look solid today. Like, this isn't a bad 6.5. It's just a frustrated 6.5, if I'm going to be honest, where I think we could have closed out the game earlier, even though we probably did realistically. But whatever, get into the super subs or the subs, because there were like a ton of them. Hansi Flick at like this 55th minute was very like, all right, guys, we're good. Take everybody off. Let's play some guys. Let's get some guys minutes. Bernal played a bunch of football. Frankie de Jong played as well. Pedri came off, which is good to see. Love Pedri being rested, obviously, because he just plays so much football all the time. He needs a rest. It's good to see. And Bernal and Frankie looked okay. Frankie didn't look great. Came back from a sickness, though, and I don't know. The whole team looked weaker, but Bernal looked solid. He was making a couple interceptions, looked okay, had a really good run on the ball, too, at the end of the match there, which is promising. I want to see him play more football. We saw a great player in him last season. Yet to really see that perfectly, but looked solid enough. Christensen came on as well. Looked pretty solid, made a couple good tackles, and held his space well. I don't know if he can start, but I'd like to see him start games and share minutes with Kubarsi and Gerard Martin, but I don't know. We'll see how that develops. I would think this would have been a game to start Christensen, but maybe they want to start him against Eintracht Frankfurt on Tuesday. I don't really know what's going to happen, but I think that's okay. I think they'll figure it out. It's not that deep. Who else came in? I think Fermin Lopez came in as well and looked okay. Looked okay at the number 10. Lamine was moved over and Fermin was played at the number 10. Looked okay. Didn't have a ton of opportunities going forward. Linked up okay. Slipped a couple times. Not that deep. Still just getting a run out, practicing, warming up back into football after his injury. That's the most important part. Don't want anybody else getting injured. And then we saw Geoffrey Torrens come in. And he wasn't that great, kind of got exposed. They were kind of going after him over and over again at the end and created a decent amount of opportunities, got some corners off of it, and ended up scoring. I don't know, not the greatest performance from him. Still could see some potential there, obviously. I think it's good to have more depth. Not great, though, and I think Barcelona might still be looking for a left back just to support Balde. I think I've seen a lot of rumors like that as well as a center back and a striker. I think those are the things they're focusing on the most. Potentially a winger as well, though. I think with Rooney, Rafinha, Rashford, and Lamine Yamal, I don't think there's space there right now, though it can't hurt. We'll see how that develops, especially with Dani Olmo potentially being able to play on the wing. So can Fermin, even though they're not great at it. I think striker, center back, and left back are kind of the positions that they need to fill in right now. Who that should be, I know Schlotterbeck is available. There's a lot of talk about if he's going to go to Madrid, even if he's going to go to Barcelona, if he's going to stay at Dortmund. I think that case is closed. So that could be a really good opportunity to put some more depth at that left center back spot, bring some more consistency into that back line, maybe ship Araujo out, at least on loan, get him playing football somewhere he could maybe be a little bit more confident, play a little bit more of a style of football he's comfortable with, because I know he's still a top tier center back. It's just getting the opportunity to play in a position, in a setup that works, a system that works very well for him, I think is part of that whole thing. But thank you guys for watching. Good game overall. We saw a lot of interesting performances earlier today. Arsenal they lost to Aston Villa. Chelsea dropped points. They drew in the Premier League. Atletico Madrid is still to play today, and then Real Madrid plays tomorrow, I believe. So we'll see how these results end up. I hope you all have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Tuesday, potentially earlier than that, for a video on Eric Garcia. But until then, I'll see you in the next one. Peace, everybody. Have a good one.